Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lilu Nishmasi Mimi Rosner Mordechai. It's always a tremendous chizuk when a chassan comes to shir the day of his chasana, the day after the chasana, and here we have Reb Nachman Seltzer. The day of the chasana is first. Mazel tov, simin tov, hey lanu lecha Yosef, hey simin tov, hey lanu lecha Yosef, hey simin tov, mazel tov, simin tov, hey lanu lecha Yosef, hey simin tov, mazel tov, hey lanu lecha Yosef. Shkoyach, mazel tov, mazel tov. Another chasana we have over here, a little thing from Jonathan Stefansky's chasana. You got some volume? Good. All right, Simcha Mishpacha. Rabbi Isai here. These are three yeshiva guys that became for Parnasa. All three of them are married. They have children. Two of them are my Chavrus's brothers, the Kramer brothers. If you notice, they're all wearing tzitzis on the outside. The two guys on the right and the left, they have guns on their belts. They are construction workers now. And they have something to tell the Olam. And two guys do the daf every single day. The guy in the middle and the guy on the right, Dani and Otniel. Here we go. You ready? Yeshiva guys. Good. Okay. You see he's holding his gun. Yeah. So we have with us a very, very special guest. He came yesterday. Very, very interesting story. He's sitting up front. Maybe come over here. Get over here. I'm talking about somebody else. Shalom Aleichem. How you doing, Tzaddik? This is Reb Elvis. Elia, right?
Yes.
All the way from Lithuania. Grew up in Lithuania. Didn't know he's a Jew until he was how old?
14.
14 years old. Got a bris then. Became a Talmud Chacham. Learns the daf every day with us. And now he moved to Ramat Shemesh. Rabbi Isai, welcome him. Yishkoyach, welcome. Who else do we have here? Yeah, no. What's his name again? Levi Leichter, right?
And his brother.
The whole, come Levi, come here. No. Okay. Who else is he with? Your father-in-law. Who slept who? You slept your father. Who got you into the daf? He got you into the daf. You got him into the daf. Fifth cycle. Wow. Unbelievable. What a zchus. Okay. A bunch of shy people. Who's your brother-in-law? Which one? That guy. Okay. He gave me the don't even go there. Okay. I said these are the two. I don't know how to call them, but the two stars. Each one has like 300 recruits under his belt. You have Refuah the barber all the way to the right. He's the barber of the barbershop, who, by the way, he needs a shidduch. If anybody knows he's an unbelievable person, shidduch, the guy to the right. The guy all the way on the left is Chaim Levin, famous, another 300 guy recruit. No picture. Why no picture? Oh, because Gary's not listening to this shit. Okay, here we go. The guy all the way on the right is Refuah the barber, Chaim Levin on the left, and of course, the sign, and you have Yochanan Itzkowitz, the guy in the center. I do want to point out that the third volume of Kesubos is now shipping. That means that if you go to growtheshare.com, you just bring one more person. You don't have to bring 300 plus people like Refuah the barber. One person, and you get a free Gemara. And that person who you bring gets a free Gemara. So, I know it sounds old and you guys heard about it, but spreading Torah or Rabbi Isai, there's nothing like Kesubos. How geshmak is Kesubos? You could share that geshmak with your friend. Today's daf. Oh, we got a big guest in the house. Motty Perl Aaron Hirsch. Wow. Today's daf dedicated in honor of Rumi Weinrib's bar mitzvah and anachas tefillin. Maybe zoche to continue to wear his tefillin for many happy years. B'kedusha b'tahara. and bring Mashnachas to his parents, grandparents, great-grandmother, well for the Nisim ben Nachman, who's named for Mazel Tov. By the way, he spent the whole drive back to Muncie after the Bellworks Siyum, reliving the night's events and played it on YouTube. I'm also sending you a picture of the Bar Mitzvah boy finishing Gemara Mesechtes Tamid to make his first Siyum in honor of the Bar Mitzvah. He wants to start from the beginning of Brachas with the Shiurim and continue to make more Siyumim. Hopefully the MDY tablet will be available soon instead of YouTube. By the way, when will the tablets be available? Simchas by all. Motty and family. Here is the Bar Mitzvah Bacher himself making a Siyum Mesechtes Tamid and at Bellworks. That picture, but the background is not real. That's in New York. It looks like this here, but it's an unbelievable thing, Yoshi. Okay. I know, Rav Nachum Katz, unbelievable. Thank you. We schmoozed yesterday, and here he is in live. Rabbi said the koil is sponsored by Avi and Rachel Kamyansky in memory of Rachel's mother, Rachel Gittel Bas Esther Rita, should be Melitza Yosher on behalf of us and our children. The second sponsor of the koil for the month, for the success of our family, and that we merit to always crown Hashem. The Masechta, the entire Masechta is sponsored by Mola and the Eli Nishmas Baruch, Ben Moshe Aaron, and Eli Nishmas Moshe Yitzchok, Ben Shalom, and for the hatzlacha for my children. And the second sponsor of the Masechta, Jeff Rosner, in zchus my son, Yosef Simcha Chaim Ben Torah Chana, Refuah Shlaima. Okay, we'll take two amens. Michael Benmeleh, Motty Perl Aaron Hirsch to be zoche to make it to Uman Rosh this year. And the Parnas HaChodesh Lili Nishmas Zechariah Ben Moshe, Parnas HaChodesh, the MDY Family, Lili Nishmas Ezra Tubia Yaakov Ben Yitzchok, Ezra Pollak, all of Shalom. I forgot to say, when his father Tani said yesterday in the message that he has to make up 10 daf, I forgot to say the classic line, you don't make up 10 daf, you jumped today's daf. I hope he knows about that. Be'ezer Hashem, he'll make up the 10 daf. In honor of my daughter's third birthday, may she be zoche to be a tzenua with Torah values and marry Ben Torah and a Talmud Chacham. And it does say Talmud Chachams. Okay? I think it's on purpose. Dave Gelberman, the neshamas of my parents, Yeshua ben David, and my mother, Tzivya bat Shmuel. And by Shmuly Katz should be a zchus for Shidduch. And a great resolution from Moshe Yitzchok ben Miriam Amen. By Peretz Chaim Levin. Listen to this one, Rabbi Sai. In honor of the Chassan of Rav Nachman Seltzer's daughter. To fill in the first name, Bradman. What's his first name? Naftali Bradman. The son of the Rosh Yeshiva, who I know from Chicago. Mishkan Yisrael Yeshiva. They should be zoche to build a bayis nemu Yisrael, l'shemut teferes. Unbelievable. Peretz Chaim Levin. Mordechai Weinrib in honor of the bar mitzvah of Avrumi Weinrib today. Mazel Tov. Rabbi Isai, one of the classics of Shas. Many stories and great lessons to be learned from these Gemaras. Daf Samach Beis, Amud Aleph. We're holding all the way in the bottom, Samach Aleph Amud Beis, the last line. Hatalmidim yotzim leTalmud. A Talmud who's learning Torah doesn't have to ask his wife for permission. She could go for 30 days to learn Torah. Says the Gemara. And Birshus Kama, let's see, ask permission. How long could he go for? Says the Gemara, what do you mean, how long? Kama the Bay. If she says 6 years, you go for 6 years. 22 years, you go for 22 years. Says the Gemara, Urcha de Milsa Kama, Samach Beis Amud Aleph. If he doesn't want to, yes, he got permission from his wife. But there's an Avera there. He's doing it on the cheshbon of somebody else. It's not good midas to do it. So, if he doesn't want to get into trouble and not have a chet, how long? Omarav chodesh kan v'chodesh babayis. It's okay if you go for a month, but you have to be home for a month. Tosfos points out, big question. Rebbe Akiva went for 24 years. Says Tosfos, she convinced him. The opposite. It's not that he wanted. When a wife convinces it, but if you convince your wife, even if she says yes, you know how it goes. Sometimes happened to me. Like I convinced my wife, I convinced my wife to sell our house, and finally she said okay, and then she was upset at me. She still is. So convincing your wife doesn't mean that she's really masking inside. That's a true story. Omarav. Shenemar. How do we know? Machlekos are the groups of people. Here's the pasuk, very long pasuk. It says, it's talking about David HaMelech. There were 12 groups of 24,000 people per group that were working for the king, David. And it says, so you see that there was the Sorel Alofim, there were people on top in charge of others. You can't just have 24,000 people go. You need people in charge of 24,000. And then it says, so the Gemara is darshing those two words. What's haba v'hayotzes? Coming and going. So we're going to learn like this. That yes, there are 24,000 per group. But what happened was, there's so many people, if you have 12 groups of 24,000 and only 24,000 work per month, that means each group only worked for 1 month a year. We're trying to prove that you go for a month and come back for a month. Go for a month, come back. Where do you see it in the pasuk? Because of these extra words, above ayotzes. And it's referring not to the 24,000 that's all the way at the end of the pasuk. Rather, it's referring to the beginning of the pasuk, the shetreim. The ones in charge of everybody else, they actually went for a month. It was a month on, a month off. Work a month, off a month. And from them, from those people, we're learning, not from the 24,000. So you see the idea that you work for a month, come back home for a month, so too at Amud Chacham, go to Beis Medrash for a month, spend the month with your wife. No, you have to spend double the amount of time at home, 1 month in Beis Medrash. That's already talking about Shlomo HaMelech. He sent out 30,000 to work in Lebanon maybe, and it was 10,000 at a time. So in other words, 10,000 worked for a month, but they were home for 2 months. Okay. So this is for the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah, they went to work to gather for the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara of Rav Nami, why doesn't Rav learn from Rabbi Yochanan's pasuk that you're supposed to be home for 2 months? When it's possible to stay home for 2 months because so many Jews wanted to work for the Beis Hamikdash, but Torah, nobody can learn for you. You have to do it yourself. So you have to learn for a month, come home for a month, go back for a month. And how come Rabbi Yochanan doesn't say stay home for a month? Why does he say you have to stay home for 2 months? When you work for the king, you have a tremendous amount of profit. Now, I know people, they go out, they work for months at a time. If you're a shaychet, for instance, you live in Eretz Yisrael. Parnas is tough here. So they leave home, they go like to Europe for 4 or 5 months at a time. They could earn $30,000 a month. For Eretz Yisrael, it's tremendous. Some of them earn $50,000 a month. So you have that, you tell your wife, listen, I can make $50,000 if I'm the top of the shaykhtim, I do bdikas, whatever it goes, like the minimum is $30,000 a month. That's crazy money. Over $300,000 a year. But you can't see your family for 4 months at a time. Do you do it or not?
Hell yeah.
Harvacha.
If you make you $30,000 a month, you can fly your wife in.
Yeah, you could fly her in, and all your kids in the middle of Cheder and all of this. Yeah.
Make you $30,000.
If you're doing it for $30,000, you don't fly anybody in. You keep all the money. I'm making $30,000. Yeah. Who? Yeah. Okay, listen. But there's such a thing called harvacha. If you have so much money, you're making that much. Okay, you leave. That's why the wife will tell you, yeah, go for 6 months. Just bring back that dough. Marrying off kids soon. Omar. Now, another machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, has nothing really to do, but an interesting thing. If you ever notice, sometimes in the middle of shir, this particular guy, I'm not going to say his name, he works the cameras every day, all of a sudden he'll let out like, oh! He's on the microphone. Okay, do that again. Do the How do you do it? It's not a good idea. Remember when he does it, especially if you're here, Motzei Shabbos, it's the standard. Motzei Shabbos. So it breaks half of your body. You should just know, Gershon, it breaks half of your body. Shenemar, v'ato ben Adam, hi'onach b'shivri musnaim. Musnaim is the loins, which are positioned halfway in your body. U'b'merirus te'onach, you do it out of bitterness. The anacha, the side. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, af kol gufa shel Adam, will break your entire body. Shenemar. I guess if you do it all the time, like we do, it doesn't do anything. In those days, whatever it was, Shenemar. It's talking about the Churban Beis Hamikdash. V'haya ki yomer elecha Amat Honenach. They'll ask you, well, why are you sighing? V'amarta el Shmuel kiva. What? V'amarta el Shmuel kiva v'nomas kalev will melt your heart, every heart. V'rafu chol yadayim, and all hands will be weak. V'chias kol ruach v'chol berkayin tilach l'mayim. Okay, the entire body, even your knees will what? Turn to water. So it's your whole body. It says halfway through your body. It breaks half your body. It starts from your midsection and it goes upwards and downwards. It destroys your whole body. It destroys your whole body. Why do you say only half the body? When you hear about the Beis HaMikdash, that's a terrible churban, the churban, and that destroys the whole body. Napoleon said once he saw the Jews sitting on Tisha B'Av crying. He said any nation that could cry 1,500 years later, guaranteed to come back to Yerushalayim. Ahu Yisrael says the Gemara story. There was a Jew, two of them were walking, a guy and a Jew. The guy couldn't keep up with the Jew. So he had a trick. He remembered hearing once about the Jews and the Churban, that they care so much. So he threw out, hey, by the way, what's with your Beis HaMikdash? Nogid v'itnach. He groaned and he sighed. B'kitzer v'afilo achi. So his trick worked. He thought it's going to break his body, like the Gemara says, it breaks his body. He couldn't keep up with him still. I don't understand. I got you to sigh and to groan. You should slow down a little bit. That's if it's brand new news. You tell me that the Beis HaMikdash was just destroyed yesterday. Yeah. The Shana, and this explains also why when we groan and we sigh. But if you do it over and over, every year we have a Tisha B'Av, and every day we remember Yerushalayim Mircha. The Amri Inchi, the Shana Loy, the Amri Inchi, the Malfa Tichle Loy V'asa. This is a very sad saying. A woman who La'alef in Hebrew means to train, like you train a dolphin. You ma'alef a dog. If a person is trained, Loy Aleinu, a woman who loses a lot of children, let's say Tay-Sachs, whatever it is, the Gemara says, she's used to it. It doesn't hurt her as much as a woman who loses a child. Loy V'asa. She's not shocked when she loses another child. So too, I'm not shocked when you remind me of the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Gemara Atayolim B'chol Yom. The chiyuv of Oina, relations with the wife. Somebody's a tile, said in the Mishnah, means a guy on retirement. Shtosim, that's not the pshat. Hatayolim B'chol Yom. Matayolim, what is that? Omarava B'nei Pirkei. Tell me the Chachamim. They have it easy. No way. Man dichsiv b'hu. Rabbi say, listen to this pasuk. It's unbelievable. It reminds me of American culture. Shav lachem ashkimei kum, which I was part of. I remember getting up 6 o'clock in the morning to minyan, in that minyan that we used to do Kriyas HaTorah before davening, because it's still too early to daven. Ma'aseh shaya, still, I think I probably have that minyan in Chicago. Kriyas HaTorah before davening, so we could run to work. Hop that subway at 7 o'clock to the city, and then start your day. Givaldik 7 o'clock, come home, zonk, then you get back on the computer, and you do your emails, and it's Yom V'Layla. It's like a rat race. You're in this, what is that thing called? The wheel. Listen what the Gemara says. Shav lachem, it's mamish tusim to you, mashkimei kum. You get up early in the morning. Me'achri shevis, you come home late. Oichlei lechem hatzavim, you eat the bread of sorrow. Why do you have to work? The Gemara says there's no need for it. It's almost like the Shari Tshuva. You could earn the same amount of money, the pasuk says, and have the same with less tsar. Learn Torah. There's nothing wrong. Learn Torah. You're not gonna gain anything by doing that Shalom Aleichem tsar. What's your name?
Michael Mann.
Michael Mann from?
Formerly Toronto.
And now? 5 towns. Oh, okay. Shalom Aleichem. You know him also? Lawrence Spiegelman knows every single guy that comes in there. Lawrence Spiegelman. And you also know. Late, around all over. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. We're holding Daf Samach Beis Amud Aleph smack in the middle somewhere. Kain Yitain Li Yedidoi Sheina. Give his Yedid, his beloved, sleep. Rabbi Yankel Galinsky takes this pasuk and he says, everybody imagine their Rebbe. Let's say the Baal Shem Tov, for me the Vilna Gaon, Rav Nachman Breslev, whoever it is. If he wrote you a letter and said to my beloved, you take that letter and hang it up and show everybody you want to be buried with it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls every single one of us, every one of his children, Yedidai. Yedid Sheinim. But what does it mean? Moshe Yitzchok. The Taz actually learns the opposite. He says that in Siman Chavav, he says that a person, from this pasuk, he says a person should give himself Sheina. He should sleep well. When you don't sleep well, then you don't learn well. The Tzanzer Rebbe told one of his Talmidim, he saw Big Mas, he said, how many hours do you sleep a night? He says 4. He says 4, mamish bittul Torah. So Tal says, what do you mean bittul Torah? So how many? He says, if you're already sleeping 4, that means that your head is not clear during the day. So you might as well just sleep 2 and you'll have the same fashtapta head the whole day anyway. So it's bittul Torah to sleep to sleep so much, 4. Elamai, you're supposed to sleep 8 hours.
How many hours did you sleep?
I'm not doing bittul Torah, not bittul Torah. I'm trying to prepare a share, whatever it takes. Says the Gemara, you can tell from my mood, the snappiness. For stuff to go. I don't give it for stuff to not for stuff. I got to get a share out, my friend. This I tell my wife. Actually, a guy came over to us yesterday, told her this, because he learned it. The guy from Baltimore, I don't even know his name, he said he watched the share. Says, the Gemara says, you're going to get a lot of zchus, but I'm okay. She said, yeah, I'm waiting for it. Basically, I don't think she caught what she was saying. Like, I'm waiting for it. Okay, what do you mean? Okay. Anyway, so, the woman, you would think, okay, what is she? No, she's a partner with her husband. When he doesn't sleep and he learns a lot of Torah, she gets the zchusim with him. She shares the zchusim. Says Abaya, what? She's also she's menadeh sheina. She's waiting for her husband. She waits there. In other words, Rashi says we're talking about he's in the city, he's in town. Where is he already? I prepared dinner for him. It's already 9 o'clock. It's already 10 o'clock. Where is he? She keeps on waiting. She gets schar for that. Says the Gemara. So we're in the middle of a question. Ask Abaya. You're talking about Talmidei Chachamim who don't come home at night. Their wives are waiting and waiting. They come home later than everybody else. And you tell me he has enough time for Oina every day? Elam Abaya Rav. It's not the pshat like you thought. Dom Rav Kigoin Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas. Says Rashi, if you remember, we had him here in our Masechta. Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas was the one, I'll remind you, in the sugya that says you should stuff your child like an ox with Torah and only punish him when he's 12. So that sugya was he got an eitzah from Rav. Don't take the young kids. He was a rebbe. He was a rebbe. It reminded me again when I looked it up today. It reminded me of what I said yesterday that you shtup the kid when he's younger, like Judith Pagrit, whatever her name is. Today the system is different. Let him go whenever he wants to come to shul. When he's 16 years old, he shows up in shul. Only love. But the Gemara said, shtup him with Torah, become a Talmid Chacham. Zok the Gemara, where are we? Yes, the and this is actually a Ramah. The Ramah in Siman Reish Mem Hey says that a Rebbe, he must eat well. And he sleeps well in the shade of his mansion. The king thinks he's a Rebbe in Cheder, so he doesn't even shepe him, doesn't even ask for taxes. So he has a good life. And he's supposed to have a good life because he's a Rebbe for children. You can't starve. You can't say, oh, I'm fasting. I'm a tzaddik today. I'm going to fast a couple of days. You have to be well fed. You have to be prepared. You have to have good sleep. Oh, somebody like that's relaxed and he's home at night. He's chayiv every day. He also Rav and Omar, like those spoiled ones, of Eretz Yisrael. They eat well, they drink well, so they're chayiv every day. Rebavo have a koi beibagi. Have a samchalei trei avdei. Gemara says he had 2 slaves that were holding him up. If his beibagi meant to say he bane. He was in a bathhouse. The way it worked those days, Rashi doesn't say it here like that. Rashi says that the water from the bath used to roll over. They had this what is it called? The pool, the infinity pool, and it would come over underneath. But I remember learning that there was like a fire underneath. That's how they used to heat it up. Okay, whatever it is. But it was hollow underneath the bath, and it was on these beams, and the whole thing collapsed. And he has 2 slaves holding him up. It turns out that he is holding them. He grabs them with one arm. He grabs 2 guys with one arm and starts climbing the beam with the other arm. That's how strong he was. He got this beam, solik vaskinu. Okay? The Gemara is going to explain a little bit more. Rabbi Yochanan also, he's going down the stairs. The famous Rav Ami Rav Asi holding on to him, one from each side. He packs the darga to say the stair collapses. Solik vaskinu, he was able to grab both of them and bring them up or save them. So Rabban asked, if you could carry 2 people like that, why do you need 2 people to hold you? What are we going to do for when I'm older? This is a little bit different than what we hold today. Like, you're supposed to do a lot of exercise, work out, so that you have strength when you're older. The Rambam says you're supposed to work out when you're younger, so you have strength. Exactly what the pshat is, not 100%. Shtam nedare, tfayim, whatever it is. Va'apoyalim shtayim b'Shabbos. If you're labored, your oina is twice a week. V'sanya apoyalim achas b'Shabbos. What do we do with the Gemara that says only once a week? If you work out of town, it's once a week. If you're in town, twice a week. What are we talking about? When it's in their city. If they live somewhere else, only once a week. If you're a donkey driver, you're a truck driver, once a week. Okay, so in the Mishnah, you see, we have the Chamor, the Gamal, the Sapon, the Tayolim. We have all these people. A guy that works on a ship once every 6 months. A guy that's on a camel once every 30 days. But you start off the Mishnah, the Basil says that if a husband makes a neder against his wife, and he says, I'm going to not be with you for a week, that's it, he has to divorce her. But a guy that works on a ship, what's a week? A week is nothing. So he made a neder for a week. He's away from her for 6 months. So obviously the Mishnah is not talking about a guy that works on a ship and a guy that's on a camel and a donkey. A donkey also, a week. So because he's 1 day late, that's why he has to get divorced. You're only talking about 2 out of the 5 cases. Tremendous yisoid, Rabbi Yisai. Akulu. If a person makes a neder that he's not going to be with his wife for a week, even though typically he's away for 6 months at a time, he has to get divorced. It's incredible. Yom Kippur morning, personally, I don't need to eat all day long. Usually if somebody doesn't remind me to eat, I don't eat until dinner. Yom Kippur morning, all of a sudden I'm starving. Come to shul, wow, I don't know how I'm going to make it through the day. It's pas b'sali, mamish like that. During a fast, if you think that you don't have what to eat, you get hungry. This woman is going to be betzar if her husband makes a neder against her for a week. It's usually 6 months. No, divorce her. Sponsored in honor of Yankee Baum and Moshe Horn, Brach hatzlacha b'chol anyonim, and zchus, being able to support Liman Torah and to finish learning Shas with Rebelli. Rebbe Eliezer says that if you work on a ship, yesterday David Feinberg said that we skipped 11 lines. I said it's impossible. It's impossible. And you just saw, here's a raya. I did it this time to check with David. It was on YouTube probably. There was a skip on YouTube, yeah.
You should come live, it's better live.
Yeah, much better live. What if a guy is away from home usually for a week, and he decides, hey, you can make $30,000 a month if you become a gamal. I want to become a gamal. So he said, does he have rishus to do it? A woman prefers a small amount of money, v'tiflos, and relations with her husband, ma'asara kabim, for a lot of money, 10 times the salary, you're precious not being with him. So no, you don't have rishus. A shipmate is chiyuv, his chiyuv d'oraisa. We're talking about a chiyuv d'oraisa. His chiyuv changes only once every 6 months. Obviously, if he's able to be more, that's up to him. But it's chiyuv. What is he mechuyev? Like a person has to shake a lulav. Person has a chiyuv aina only once every 6 months. Omer Abroina Omer Rav halacha Eliezer. Now this is very interesting to pay attention here and put. If you have a pencil, write it in your Gemara, because the Gemara starts off saying hasapanim achas l'shish chadashim divri Rebbe Eliezer, as if we're talking about that, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Talmidei Chachamim. They have the right to go for 30 days without permission, and on that the Gemara says halacha Rebbe Eliezer, not on hasapanim. Okay, just pointing it out. Yeah, but what we're talking about right now is this. Omer Rav Adabar Rav Omer Rav. Here, I know it from this. Zu Divri Rebbe Eliezer. Av Chacham Oivim L'Talmidim Yotzim L'Talmid Torah Shtayim V'Sholish Sholim Sheloi B'Shus. We don't paskin like him. Chachamim argue with Rebbe Eliezer, and they hold that a Talmid Chacham can leave for 2 to 3 years. You think it's a lot? It's nothing compared to what the Gemara is going to say in a second. That was the minute. But where's my husband? I don't know. He left. For how long? I have no clue. He left. He doesn't have to ask for shus. He leaves for 3 years. Okay. For Torah.
He divorces his wife because he's late on the neder. How's that a neder? Then she loses him entirely.
Well, what again?
He has to divorce her if he's late on the neder by a day.
Yeah.
How's that a neder? Then she loses him completely. So how's that a neder?
Yeah. So marry somebody else. They'll be more attentive. Mm-hmm. She demands it. Omer Rava, some Rabbanon another. He's not mechuyev to. She wants. Omer Rava, some Rabbanon another Rav Adavar Rahava. However, halacha lamaisa Talmidei Chachamim, they took this halacha of Rav Adavar Rahava that you can leave for 2-3 years without permission. Va'avdi uvda benafshayu, says Rashi. They risked their own lives. They risked their nefesh. Some of them died because of that, as the Gemara goes on to say. Ki ha the Rav Chumi have a shchiach kamei the Rava b'machayza. Rav Chumi used to learn Torah by Rava. Have a rogel that also the basic called Mali Yom Kippur. Very famous story. He used to come home once a year on Erev Yom Kippur. Yom Echad Meshachti Shmaita. Okay, so it's the year is up. His wife is waiting. Oh, finally, every year he comes on Yom Kippur. Oh, she gets the kids. Tati's coming home. Well, he got very involved in learning. Have a Mesachya Devisu, and his wife was Mitzapa, says Rashi. She was waiting for him. She's by the window. Hashtasi, is he coming? Hashtasi, is he coming? Lo yasa. He didn't show up. Cholish daita. She got depressed, sad. Aches dimosa me'ina. 1 tear she shed from her eye. Says the Gemara. We have to learn from this. Have a Yosef Bigra. He was up on the 2nd floor. Ibches Igra, that moment that she shed a tear. Ibches Igra metusei v'noch nafshei. Sorry. That moment that she shed a tear, the ceiling fell in and he died. On this Daf Yomi we have some of the most famous Reb Chaim Shmulevitzes of all time. The most famous one. Which is the most famous one? Stam Feher. What's the most famous Reb Chaim Shmulevitz line of all time?
Line or piece?
1 and 1 is not 2. Exactly. 12 plus 12 is not. No, it's Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. Yeah, Zchus Musa 1,000%. 12 plus 12 is not 20. We'll get to that. But anyways, everybody stole it. It's Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. But Lo Meshana, he said a different one. He asked a question. And it's basically what Lauren was asking before, but over here it's even better. The wife who's waiting so much for her husband, she lost the most. Her husband is never coming back now. So why did Hashem kill the husband? Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, you see from here that ben adam chaveroi, to not be nice to your friend is playing with fire. If you put your hand in the fire, you're going to get burnt. What happens to somebody else? Oh, but if I get burnt, he's going to suffer. You're putting your hand in the fire. He made a person suffer. He got burned. He got killed. the wife is going to suffer even more. It's playing with fire, he says. And it's not honest. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We see in the Gemara, it's fire. Yeah. When you go into the fire by mistake, you know what happens? You get punished by that. That's exactly the point. It's not a punishment. It's not a din. He says it's fire. It's fire. It's a fact. It's a fact. You walked into a fire, a burning house by mistake. You didn't chap. You're still going to get burnt. There was a story in the Gemara. I forgot who it was. There's a story in the Gemara that somebody had a split lip, and the Tana thought he was smiling at him, and he killed him. He thought he's making fun of him. Insulting somebody by mistake. I shouldn't say this because then it's going to come back to me. Okay. Now, what are the Talmud Chacham? When is his chiyuv? The famous Gemara, Merev Shabbos, Lerev Shabbos. Special mitzvah on Friday night. It says Rashi over here, Merev Shabbos, Shulel Tanog. It's a time for enjoyment, ushvisa, and you take it, relax. Vahanas Haguf. I think in the Maharsha, I forgot who it was, that says on Friday night you can't use a candle. You can't learn by a candle. So tell me the Chachamim have less learning to do. They can't learn as much as they typically learn on a regular night. So that's the pshat in shvisa, vahanas haguf. In other words, everybody has the same thing as Talmud Chacham. Everybody has a Leil Shabbos for Tainug and shvisa. But a Talmud Chacham, that's the only time he's mechuyev, because the rest of the week he's very busy learning. Says the Gemara. It says in the pasuk, Asher pirya yitim b'itoy, a tree will give its fruit in its time. A person who has relations from Friday night to Friday night, he'll have the children that Hakadosh Baruch Hu will give him. Yehuda berei de Reb Chia. Yehuda, the son of Reb Chia. Reb Chia had two sons. We had it. Who were his two sons? We had Yehuda and Chizkiah. They were twins. Remember, they weren't born on the same day. In fact, they weren't born in the same month. They were born 3 months apart from each other. So Yehuda the Berei the Reb Chia, he was the son-in-law, Chassan the Reb Yanai. Hava Ozel v'Yosef v'Yirav, he was learning v'chol beishimshei every Friday night, every Friday evening. Hava Ozel the Beis, he would come on once a week. V'chi Hava Osi Hava Kochazik Hamei Amud Denura, you were able to see a flame in front of him. Yoyv Echad v'Shachti Shmaita, he was learning again like before. He got involved in his learning. And there's a big Eli, I said this a few times, a big Eli in Chaim Berlin who today has a yeshiva. I don't want to say his name because it's a little bit embarrassing story. He was davening Shemon Esrei next to me. I don't even know if this has so much to do with this, but he was davening Shemon Esrei next to me. In the middle of Shemon Esrei, I saw him turn around, walk to the bookcase and pulled out a sefer and started there. And then I don't know if he went back to the Shemon Esrei. I just remember in the middle of Shemon Esrei, he was so involved in his learning. He's a real Eli. Anyway, so he was so involved in his learning, forgot that he has to go home. They're looking out the window. They're looking for the flame. No flame. No sign of Reb Chia's son. So Rabbi Yanai, the father, says, here's a picture. In the time of the Gemara, this is what you had to do. By Avelos, you take the bed and you flip it upside down. We have to sit shiva for him. If Yehuda was alive, he has a chiyuv deraisa to be with my daughter, and he's not here. There's nothing that could stop him from being kind of mitzvah. Obviously, he's dead. Says the Gemara, he just said those words. You shouldn't speak in vain. When you say things like that, bad things could happen. In fact, that's what killed him. We had in our Masechta the same exact thing with the daughters of Shmuel. When Shmuel said to his father, why should you watch these captured women? They're already captured, so who cares now? And his daughters got captured.
If nobody would say anything that everyone else.
What?
Big the Gemara would be if nobody would say anything
about
that caused other people to die. That would be a big Gemara. The Gemara is full of people saying things that cause people to die.
Right.
All the time.
No.
You want to talk about Chavera. Don't say these things. The Gemara is full of stuff. Fact, you cause people to die. Fact, you cause people to die. That's not a fact, that's a fact. You cause people to die.
Rabbi, interesting story. Rebbe made a shidduch with the son of Rebbe Chia. For his son to the daughter of Rebbe Chia. They came mamish to Tachlis. Noch nafshi the Revisa. The Kala died. Rebbe, so Rebbe realized Chas v'Shalom Suleika. maybe the reason why she dies is because it's not a good shidduch. It's not a good match. You see, so they started looking into the genealogy. They figured out Rebbe Yossi Mishfatyo ben Avital. He's a descendant. Avital is the wife of David HaMelech. He comes directly from David HaMelech, which is Malchus. Rebbe Yossi Mishimi Achi David. He comes from the brother of David, not Malchus. So it doesn't go together. Malchus and not Malchus don't go together. That's why she was nifter. Azli Asik the break. Be Rebbe Yossi ben Zimra. So he did another shidduch. Says the Gemara, unbelievable story. Possibly Tartis Reishnin lemezel beveirav. This daughter of Yosef ben Zimra said, okay, I want to marry him, but I want my chassan to go learn for 12 years first. Let's say he's 18 years old from today until he's 30 years old. 12 years. He just left. Many once told me a joke. They said a chassid was very depressed in yeshiva. So the Rashiva asked him, why are you so depressed? He said, what do you mean why are you so depressed? All my friends are getting engaged one after another. The Rashiva says, you're also engaged. You've been engaged for 1.5 years already. That's how it went back then. Says the Gemara, 12 years. You're going to be engaged for 12 years. Not get married yet. Not that they get married and go to, stay like this, engaged for 12 years. Achlafu kamei. So this was not a great idea. They brought the kala right in front of the chassan. Oh, picks up his eyes. He says, "Oh, okay. Omalo, you know what? Forget the 12 years. Nevu shishnin. I'll go for 6 years." So they say, "Oh, 6 years. If one time goes, you just chopped 6 years. Let's pass her by a second time." Achlavu kamei. So they pass her by in front of him a second time. Omalo, you know what? Let's just get married today. And then I'll go to yeshiva. He was very embarrassed of what he did from his father. This is also, you can learn from every line in the Gemara. The father, instead of yelling at him, no, you did the right thing. Mamish like a Kodesh Baruch Hu. You're acting like Hashem. We say every single day in Az Yasher. You'll come to Eretz Yisrael, I'll bring there, you'll plant Nitiyah, and then you'll make a Beis HaMikdash for me. First, come to Eretz Yisrael. But what happened? Hashem already made a Beis HaMikdash in the Midbar. Klai Yisrael at Matan Torah, they're like a husband and a wife, right? Akash Baruch Hu made a stark suva. The Marsha says over here. They got engaged, and Hashem said, "Okay, let's wait a little bit. We'll wait. I'll build a house in Eretz Yisrael. Then we'll get married." And then all of a sudden, Hashem said, no, let's do it now. Let's do it in the Mishkan. So, my son, don't worry about it. Hashem did the same thing. Ozal, but however, after he got married, Yosef Tartis Reishnei Bevei Rav. He sat and learned Torah for 12 years. Says the Gemara, Ad Da'asa, terrible story. Ad Da'asa Ya'akir Devisu. What? Yeah. Hashem, of course. Hashem said, I see you. Here you are. You pass in front of me. Let's get married now. So, unfortunately, because of the length of time that they were away from each other, says Rashi, if a woman is not with her husband for 10 years, she becomes an akara. She became an akara, it's 12 years. Which is, I had a shaila over here, because we once learned that but I saw in the Marsha actually, because he sticks in a word and it answers my question. We learned that if a woman has her das on her husband, she has a husband, she's thinking about him, she doesn't become an akara. So the Marsha actually says, I think that's what he meant, that he says that she was Masich das from him. She kind of gave up on him. And that's what caused it to be akar. Maybe that's what he says. I don't know. I ain't sure. Omar Rebbe says, Rebbe has a dilemma here. She's an akar, she can't have children anymore. Omar Rebbe, I have a problem. It's really not nice. She waited for my son for 12 years. Hey Chinave, what do you do? Negarsha, you can't divorce her. This poor woman, she waited so long for nothing. What? But he has to be kind of the Mizra Puruvu. What should my son do? Marry another woman? What does she stam? Now, the Ben Yoda says a beautiful thing. I think there's a chizuk for anybody that doesn't have children. There's Ben Yoda. She's not a zoina. There's no isser to be with a wife who can't have children. You're allowed to be with a wife who's old or even an island. There's no isser. So the Ben Yoda says that every single relation that a husband has with a wife, even if they don't have a child from it, it brings in a shaman into this world. That's what he says. A neshama comes down. There's a human being, and one day you're going to meet these children. That's what he says. Every single ma'isa that you have brings a child to the world in a way you don't know today. You don't know who they are and where they are, but one day you will meet them. That's what he says. Ayin sham. Erase. Stop. Well, Baruch Hashem is quiet for most of the shir. Anybody that made it this far to the shir, you can let him, whatever. Okay. So what do you do? So he asked, he davened Takosh Baruch Hu, and she was healed. She was able to have children. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Hananya ben Chachinoi. Remember these names. You have Rabbi Hananya, the son of Chachinoi. Also, an amazing classic story in Shas. Shimon Chai gets married. You have Sheva Brachas. He says, adios, I'm not waiting for Sheva Brachas. I got to go back to learn Torah. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai begs him, I want to go back with you. Imagine if you had one Gemara, one Zoyar that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai wrote, it would sell for $100 million. He's begging Reb Chananya, just wait for me. Sheva Brachas, I'll be done. I'll leave my wife and I'll come back. No. Lo Yaakov Lei. He didn't wait for a second. Also, Yosef Treis Reishnei Bevei Rav. Again, Reb Chaim Shmuel says in Maimers in Tzadik Beis, he brings this Gemara that when you have an inspiration, you jump on it immediately. You go learn Torah that day. You don't wait for anybody 7 days. I don't care if it's Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. I don't care if Reb Shimon Bar Yochai is going to talk to you in learning the entire way. There's actually a medrash that says Reb Shimon Bar Yochai worked many years to make up those days, to catch up to Reb Chanai. Anyway, that's where Reb Chaim Shmuel brings that famous story that I said a bunch of times, that there was somebody in Volozhin he was the top guy in yeshiva, and they asked him something and he didn't realize it's a Mefurish Tosfos. He left the middle of the meal without benching, and he learned for 7 years. So they asked Reb Chaim Volozhin, did he do the right thing? He said, no, you don't leave before benching. However, had he waited for benching, he wouldn't have had that inspiration. The inspiration would have flown away. You have the inspiration, you leave right now. Says the Gemara, not the shir. Who's getting up now? Says the Gemara. Ozal Yosef Treis Reishnei. He sat to learn 12 years, and Chaim Shmuel points out. So what's another 7 days on top of 12 years? He's going for 12 years. So wait, your trip will start 7 days later. Bevei Rav, he's learned for 12 years. He comes back to the city, doesn't remember a thing. If anybody wasn't in Eretz Yisrael for 12 years, by the way, I drove to Yerushalayim yesterday, so if anybody didn't drive to Yerushalayim in the last week, you don't know how to get to Yerushalayim. Brand new tunnel that takes you to Yerushalayim. What is going on? I'm in the tunnel for 5 minutes straight. So anyways, on the one, just changed this week. Anyway, so it's called the 16. One turns into the 16. If you haven't been in Eretz Yisrael for 12 years, you don't even know that there's a one. All these things didn't exist 12 years ago. He comes to the city, he doesn't know how to go. Yosef Aguda Dinaharos, he sat at the bank of the river. Shomalei Rivisa, he hears a girl. Bas Chachinoi. Who's Chachinoi? His father. He's Chananya. His father's Chachinoi. Bas Chachinoi, Malay Kulteich, fill up your jug. Vitonez, let's get out of here. Omar, Shmaimna, Rivisa Didon. Ooh, this must be my daughter. So he follows her home. His wife is sitting there sifting the flour. She lifts her eyes up. You ever see these things like these people that come home after being in Afghanistan for a year, they show up. She was so shocked, she died on the spot. This poor woman waited for me for 12 years. This is what she gets. He davened for her and there's tchias hamesim. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Chomer Bar Bisa, Azal Yosef Treis Shnei Bevei Midrash. You see, people used to learn for 12 years they didn't have pictures of their wives, they didn't have phones, they didn't have FaceTime, nothing. He also, Omar, Lo Yavet Ki David Ben Chachinoi, when he came back, he says, I don't want to scare my wife and kill her. Ayo Yosef Ben Midrash, so he sat a little bit more in the base medrash, Shalach Leveise, and he sent out that he's here. Also, Rabbi Shaya Berei, his own son, Rabbi Shaya, who was a great Talmud Chacham, even greater than him, sat down next to him, and he didn't know that it's his own son. So he starts asking him questions. His son asked the father. He saw this guy's a big Talmud Chacham. he became weak. Omar, he said, "You have a hacha, have high. I wish I would have had a son like him." He's talking about his own son. He didn't realize his own son is a tremendous Talmid Chacham. Alavese, so he goes to his house. Olbrei, so his son, Rabbi Shai, shows up. Come, Kamei. This is the Talmid Chacham that asked me all these questions in the Beis Medrash. He stood up for his own son. Who saw he thought he's coming to ask him more questions. Or like the Visus, his own wife says, Mika Abba the Chaim Mikamei Bara. She's already giving Musa. She just met him now after 12 years. Why are you standing up in front of your son? This is your son. Kitzur, she told him in a nice way that this big Talmid Chacham is her son. Rami Bar Chama, so Rami Bar Chama said about this. You have 3 generations. It's a rope that's made out of 3-ply rope. Barbisa is the grandfather, Rabbi Chama is the father. The Marshal points out here, how did Rabbi Shai become such a Talmid Chacham? Because he learned with his grandfather, Bisa, because Benmeleh is like a son. Rabbi Sai, tomorrow, my favorite story, the story that causes me to cry every time I read it. Have a wonderful day.